we're live.
Perfect.
Not live,
So,
but
first of all, I would like to thank Global Fashion Exchange, United Nations World Oceans Day Eco Shocker, Peace Boat US, and Creative for Change to invite all of us and created such kind of tremendously valuable content for everyone. So today we're super honored to have all of you. So the founder from No More Plastic and all the ambassadors and also founders from lablaco and Circle Summit. So yeah, basically it would be very interesting to have the point of view of everyone regarding the plastic and the ocean and especially the action for the fashion and the ocean. So first off, I would like to have everyone to kind of introduce yourself and yeah, your background and what you're working on. So probably you can start with Rosalie.
I'm Rosalie Mann. I'm the founder of No More Plastic and founded the organization in June 2018. And we make so different digital campaign. We also launched No More Plastic Kids to educate the children about the plastic effect in our health and how we can change the things, what is the solution already existing. I co-wrote a manifesto with Alexandra Cousteau and my husband that you can saw in our website. And today I have three of our ambassadors with us, Angela Fink, Julie Pelipas, and Lindsey Wixson.
First of all, it's a pleasure to be with you on this such an important message in here. It's not easy to shortly speak about my background because it's a lot of stuff was done before I became an ambassador for No More Plastic. But for now, for the moment, the most important thing that I'm trying to do and to put as much involvement as possible is the project of Better Us. But what makes me happy as a kid is all the collaborations with No More Plastico, and we soon gonna work with Penelope, my daughter, on an important book that we pretty much excited about, because I truly believe that the future is in the hands of our kids and is in the hands of future generations. Besides, they are more aware of what's happening than our generation. I mean, not us, but our generation. So my background is Vogue Ukraine fashion director, but what I put on top is actually those little things that I do daily basis is being an ambassador with No More Plastic, doing Better Us, this upcycling platform where we will try to make upcycling, we say, sexy again, like doing this more this approach of using pre-loved clothing more fashionable, more cool, so that everyone will see that it's much more better than being constantly consuming new stuff. That's, to cut the story short, it's all about me by the moment, and I'm super happy to be one of you in this important speech.
Hi all, good morning from Los Angeles. Thank you so much for having me. It's such an honor to speak about this and really get the message out. My background is a stylist, and then which naturally kind of evolved into a creative director, and now I own and operate a creative agency with my husband. And we basically work with brands, designers to help them create narratives, create their brand story, and then have visuals to go along with that. So we create their story and then visuals and then put it in a package. And it's really about finding the true meaning behind your brand. And I started getting involved with No More Plastics. I was receiving a lot of boxes with either gifting from brands or people wanting me to see their clothes, maybe post about it, maybe use it on my clients. And I would see a sickening amount of waste of plastic. So that's when I reached out to No More Plastics and I said, hey, I really want to create a campaign to bring awareness to what's happening and the useless waste that's happening right now, and how can we do that? So I just created a campaign, a visual story, like I like to do, and then I spoke about it, and then we just started working together, and I just started bringing awareness to how it affects our everyday life and the consumption that happens. And now we're working with a bag designer to create more awareness in the fashion industry about how small changes can lead to big actions.
So I'm Lindsey Wixson. I've been a model for about 9 or 10 years, since I was 15. And I really care about the ocean. I used to surf, and yeah, it's not really about me, but it's definitely about helping ocean habitats and reducing our carbon footprint in the form of habit change. So it takes a lot of self-reflection to come to this place and just really be about it, you know.
Awesome. It's up to us now. So I'm Laura. I'm the co-founder of lablaco, and we are also founders of the Circular Fashion Summit. And my background, first of all, I've been working for almost 10 years in the fashion luxury industry before as a bespoke tailor and designer for a few years. And then I met with Yun, which maybe you want to just give yourself an intro.
Yeah. So basically my background, before I was working in luxury company like Giorgio Armani and Etro. So basically I was managing kind of buying and merchandising. And that is also the time that I found out that actually the fashion system created a lot of kind of waste issue. So afterwards we really saw a lot of documentary and so on. Actually, we just reviewed it again before. Since 1955, we have already produced more than 10 billion of plastic waste, and today the world uses about 500 billion plastic bag every year. So basically, it's 1 million per minute. So that's really a huge amount of number. So yeah, so basically, we hope to use also technology innovation to somehow to reduce this waste and probably to find a better way to produce the products in a better way. Yeah. So next session. So basically we know that No More Plastic just launched a new campaign. So if Rosalie, you want to get deeper to it. So what is this new campaign about and what's the progress and what you have done with ambassadors to give us a little bit more idea about your work.
Yes, we just launched our new campaign about the truth about plastic, about everything we should all know about plastic, because the real danger right now is that in the media hubbub around plastic waste and the recycling solution, we will no longer able to recognize the truth. So our new campaign is more action, less silence regarding plastic pollution, a real problem, because microplastic or nanoplastic are a real problem about plastic pollution. And several people think that because it's invisible, it doesn't exist, but it's real, it's there. And so it's the reason why we launched this new campaign to explain and to give all the information to people about several research and studies alerting to the presence of plastic in the environment, including in the ice, because right now there are microplastic everywhere, in our water, in our food, in our fish, in everywhere. So the UN estimate that plastic waste pollution is one of the greatest environmental scourge of our time. And with this campaign, we just would like to alert people that plastic affects our health, plastic affects our lands, plastic affects our water, plastic affects our air, plastic affects our climate, plastic affects our future, and that is enough. So right now we would like to reject the lie about plastic recycling and educate yourself think about the butterfly effect about every product that we will buy or we will produce. And I think innovation is the real key to solve this situation.
I would love just, I would love to use this opportunity speaking to all of you now to maybe get the information, because I'm always in confusion when I try to tell my kids or people around me what's the alternatives. When we step into this confusion every hour of our life. When you go everywhere in these public places, you see plastic everywhere, right? And of course, on one side, we can spread the knowledge, the awareness, and all that stuff. But then when you give the particular information, what's the solution? What's the innovation? Laura, I think it's to you because you're more aware of everything technologically new and up to date, so we can really spread this news. I mean, there are points that we have to make louder, like education, awareness, but still bringing the information which brings the hope, of course. When you always speak about problem, there kind of no hope in this tunnel. And when you bring the solution, when you say, so you can do this, we have this, instead of using this, you can take. But even me, I'm constantly in search for what's the alternatives for plastic wrapping the products, for example, and it's the beeswax rights by the moment, and how they can produce this in bigger amounts, so they can solve the issues of food supplies. Because I see even in quite trendy and modern shops, they still have a lot of plastic, and they have this request for improving, but they kind of don't have the solutions. They don't have the channels of communications with the right suppliers, with the right companies that can, source the right technologies or products for them. So my question is, where are those, maybe information channels that inform us that here are technologies, here are the suppliers, here are new products, and all that stuff, like a new media world where we as good informed about this as we now informed about COVID or whatever else, in this world. So it's like not equal this moment. So this is the question, maybe particular question to you, Laura, about what we have to propose. Because I can come to any company in Ukraine, for example, and tell them, listen, you are such a progressive company. You can make this huge shift in our country. That's what I really want to do. But I don't have information to propose them. I don't have particular contacts, companies, technologies, and all that stuff. So maybe you can suggest anything.
Yeah, of course. For me, I think the best solution right now, but innovation is the key. We have to innovate much more, etc. But right now is the bioplastic. The bioplastic is biosourced material plastic made from corn, kelp, something natural, and it's biodegradable. And so many different alternatives already exist. So of course, we need to search, etc. It's not easy, but you can find and you can see all these alternatives. And for example, when I saw a company like Burberry, who just created sunglasses made by bioplastic, made from plants, and it's completely biodegradable, I think it's really important to show this kind of example. If this huge company like Burberry and Riccardo Tisci can show this kind of example, it's really nice. But of course, we need to innovate, etc. But you can innovate when you know. If you didn't know that plastic is toxic, and recycling plastic is still toxic, because even if we're recycling, the toxic material doesn't disappear. You cannot innovate in the right way. So I think it's really important to give all the right information, all the studies, all the research of scientists. They can prove that it's really important right now to make a change. Because, for example, we know right now with the study that when you wearing a clothes made with polyester or recycling plastic, you create microplastic even when you wear it. Just wear the clothes and you're creating microplastic goes in the hair. So it's really important to have the correct information to make the correct innovation. But innovation is a real key to solve this kind of solution. I have so many hope in the new generation, and the fashion industry is so creative. I think it's one of the most creative industry in the world. So I think they can change, but they need to know that recycling plastic is not a solution. This is my point of view.
Hi, I wanted to say something. I wanted to say, Julie, I 100% agree with you. I speak to my daughter constantly about why we're not using tea bags because of microplastics or our laundry. And I recently did a campaign, and I wrote down a few solutions that I researched and I found just through my own research about how to get rid of, the plastic straws and replace it with a bamboo or metal. And I had a long list, and then Rosalie reached out and she's like, this doesn't reduce. And I think it's about being okay with being wrong and not knowing all the answers, and really figuring out what works and what doesn't. And I agree with Rosalie 100% that innovation and technology is our salvation. We have to change. Change has to come, but let's figure it out together. Let's all start a conversation. Let Rosalie and I have an open dialogue about what has nanoplastic, what has, we recently learned working with this bag company that recycled plastic doesn't work. You're still creating the microplastics, the nanoplastics. And I think it's about allowing yourself no judgment to just get better, to move forward and find solutions, because we can't all be perfect, and we can't completely change every aspect of our lives because of our jobs or the schools that our children go to. But we can start to. We can start small and start simple, and we can spread that message. And through that, I believe that we're really going to make big changes. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the shift out of plastic is going to be, I think, basically a new civilization, I would consider it, because, we are coming from the plastic era, all the medical advancements, all the work that, travel, the computer we're using, and everything. I personally, as a tailor, I made an experiment to live 1 year without plastic, just going back in time, basically living in the countryside with my grandparents. And it's fine, but I think in the same way, it's not the real solution also to go extreme in that direction as well. I do believe that, in the future, we will find alternatives, but seeing as they're not quite there quite yet for everyone, it's not so available for everyone. I was also wondering what to do with all this plastic that we have accumulated if we're not recycling it. What is, I would say also, my question is, what is the best thing to do with these plastics if we're not recycling them? Because I see it a little bit like the transition to electric vehicles. They're great, we'll agree that's the way forward, but we can't just smash all the diesel cars around. It will take some time, I would say, to do this transition. So what should we do you think, with all the extra plastics that we have around before the whole society agrees that we'll have the technology to replace every aspect of plastic from our society?
I think we need to eliminate the maximum of plastic. Right now, plastic waste, we need to find solution about that, and several research find bacteria that could eat, for example, the plastic, etc. And there exists so many different solutions or innovation. We are just in the beginning, so I think the future will be will be huge about that. But you're right about one thing, that computer, everything is plastic, of course, but right now it's absolutely not normal that we will re-include all this plastic waste in daily life products, and that children use, etc., because it's toxic, it's dangerous for our health, for our future, for the environment, etc. So it's completely different if you reuse plastic for material things that you can, like computer or cell phone, etc., or when you reuse it just for bottle or clothes or something that we will use everywhere, like that touch your body. You see what I mean? So it's a little different when you use it for medical things or computer or technology, etc. Right now, people need to understand that we need to eliminate maximum of plastic waste. We cannot continue to reuse it, because every time you reuse this plastic, you created billion and billion microplastic and nanoplastic. And right now we know that it's so dangerous for our future, for the life in our health and in the planet. So it's my point of view about that.
Yeah, I wanted to touch on the fact that, you know, the melting down of plastics and the recycling of plastic releases the fumes, releases all this pollution, but it's critical that we also restore habitats of mangroves, of tidal marshes, of, you know, they store all of the carbon, and if they get decimated by the continual of the global warming, then all this carbon is just released, it's emitted, and it's generally emitted, you know, currently 1.2 billion tons are being emitted. So we have like this existential crisis. It's not even just that it's toxic. We could store it like it's toxic waste, like it's nuclear waste, because that's basically what it is. And we could store that, so protect it from going back to the ocean. We have to contain it. We have to contain it until we have the technology to be able to deal with it. So you have like all of these different moving parts, but you also have CEOs that are just getting on board. They don't know what they're doing. So convincing these banks and convincing the CEOs that this is an existential crisis, which it is, and that they will no longer be able to travel because the storms will be too big. Like, that's what it comes down to. It's not just about consuming less, because eventually we're not going to be able to consume. So it's like we collectively have to ban the plastic, like from all products, from food products, and get the CEOs on board to make these products that are plant-based, so that we can reform it in its entirety, like that, like in 2 years. You know, it's just like, it's crazy. Anyway.
Actually, it links to something that's very interesting were happening here in Taiwan. So basically, I think 2 months ago, so we had kind of organization there creating organic material from like food waste or coffee, all this stuff. So basically this company, they're creating amazing kind of, I think that would be very avant-garde if they can really make it. So they can really replace the plastic. So there are already some big companies that are looking for them and to kind of realize this product. But then the thing is, so when they were developing this product, so they need basically funding. So they went to the government and saying, okay, so now I need funding to make this happen, because this will really replace the plastic and so on. But then I think the government-wise, they are not ready for the new technology or innovation. So basically, this company, they're under, because they're not under environment area, neither manufacturing area, that because basically it's a new era of kind of innovation for the company. So basically, they don't have correct channel to go to the right place to get right funding. So basically, they're kind of stuck there for I think 5 to 10 years. But basically, they're using their own funding. So I think the government-wise, as you mentioned, so probably something need to happen as well, like from the policy, like how we can get together and influence also the decision making from the top. So how we can really make things happen without all this bureaucracy. So to like have a fastest way to influence all the small companies as well, big companies as well, to make this change kind of happen. So I'm not sure what's your...
In France, it's already probably the most advanced in this. But yeah, I think we need some kind of a global agreement, almost, that we all agree that this is not the way. But yeah, it's a bigger conversation than us, probably.
I just wanted to touch on the fact that your president in France has decided to have this brand called OOHO, and it's a seaweed product that they've put water in, and he like really liked it. And there's other companies, I did some research, that also have been creating. There's the conveyor belt boat that collects and stores floating waste, trash skimming and de-weeding, and that company is called Cleantech Infra. And they also have other boats that go around in different rivers and waterways. There's also a company, there's several companies, if you look up Cleantech Infra, it's Clean, T-E-C, capital I-N-F-R-A. And there's another company called, and I don't know if these are US companies. I think the Infratech is like all international, like it's in Asia, and they're cleaning waterways there. So that's really cool. But there's another guy with the cleanup, the ocean cleanup, and he's also done some great work with that. Then there's an Eco 6-pack beer ring by Saltwater Brewery that is edible by marine mammals. And this is just, you can like Google this stuff and it'll show the page that has all the other brands, but I'll let you guys talk.
Well, thank you so much for that. I think, yeah, when we post this video, we should definitely collect a lot of useful links, maybe to add in the comments below, so we can all access this information. That'd be great.
I would love to actually to touch with Lindsey on this question. It's true that there are many, like happily, there are many companies and many people trying to do this huge, really heavy shift, because to fundraise money for that, then to bring it, translate it into technologies, and then to bring it into life, it takes time and it's a huge process. And tonight I was doing the same. I was doing the research of being just aware how many companies and what are the new technologies, because I'm in constant search for this. And I see that there are many. The fact that there are really a lot of them doing this, the guys from Ocean Clean, they're really cool. That what they do is amazing. And it's obviously that you just need to spread this to make them, these companies, more like this. But then on another side, we still have the majority of people who will continue consuming plastic, throwing it around, doing this, and we will, it's like fighting with the waves of water, of the winds. It's like useless if we don't have on another side huge, like, let's say, I don't like this word, but let's say trend in the mass market, like in the majority of people, not doing those crazy stuff like throwing the plastic, not just using, but throwing the plastic all over. It's, we all exist on level where we don't see those other spots in my country where people just not just sort, they just threw it in the nature, in the forests, in the rivers. And what I just the last thing that I really want to bring to this conversation is that I'm surprised that we still don't have any kind of huge movement in cinema, in art, in in contemporary medias, where we bring this message not just with these conversations, but bring them out in art, in cinema. When we all look, we all watch series, and this is something that majority of people, the way they perceive information. Why don't we create like crazy good series, like bringing this message so that people will get like involved in this mentally, like coached on this. And what I see is the issue is that the majority of people is quite far from these issues, and not just about education, but bringing this into big trends for them, like like fashion. Actually, we did such a good job telling them the message that Vuitton was cool, Chanel was cool. I mean, back those times. Why don't we manage to do the same with these messages, with this behavior, with this lifestyle, with this approach to this life? That's what I see. That's why I'm surprised that we still don't have this movement, like strong movement, not just saying about problem, but showing how to solve it, showing in a cool way. I remember that little movie that Pornhub did. You remember, was the plastic that they bring this message. It was cool. It was really strong. I mean, I'm pretty much sure that they touched the audience we never touch with us. They reach the audience we will never be able to reach. So what I see, that there should be many other media channels, not that sophisticated, not that high intelligent, but maybe lower level, but they have to bring those messages everywhere. Like in public places, you always see the advertisements. Why we never see the advertisements against plastic? It should be bright, it should be colorful, it should be like, it should come into your mind straight to that point where you get involved in this mentally. Sorry, I'm a little emotional here, but that's how I feel the problem these days. Thank you.
Yeah, actually, my next question would be like, because basically all of you are like expert also in creating content for not for only brands and magazine and so on. So what would be your suggestion for younger generation or like brands, like how they can in communication to make this message happen? What would be, or any difficulty that you have encountered so far in communicating this?
I would love to speak to that. I just recently posted a campaign on my Instagram, and I got a lot of feedback about how sustainable products are expensive and they can't afford them. And I kind of broke it down as, let's take something as simple as Ziploc bags and stasher bags. I don't know if you guys are familiar, but it basically is, you can get a whole package of 8 of them, and they're made of this amazing material, and you never have to buy Ziplocs again. Now, your upfront cost is expensive. You are paying for something that's a product that you're going to keep for a very long time. And Ziplocs, you're not going to pay over and over and over again as you're purchasing, because it's single use, you're consuming and throwing away. And, I feel like I kind of had to break it down as, you are going to pay upfront costs. You are going to pay for that sustainability, but in the long run, you're changing our world, and you're also not having to consume more packaging, more things at the store, because those little prices add up. So I kind of have gotten a lot of feedback about that. And also when I did the campaign where I was speaking about alternatives for some of the single-use plastic, I got a lot of feedback about how, oh, I didn't know this was a thing. I didn't know I could have this option. And I think it is so about awareness even for myself, because I'm learning every day. Awareness for the people that are in your life, whether it's your daughter's school or your children's school, or the local store that you go to maybe to get some like pickup or takeout. Question, ask them, why are you using foam for, like, styrofoam for your takeout? You know, there's alternatives, and maybe share that knowledge with them, because maybe they're just looking to cut cost, or they just don't know. So it's about radical awareness and really voicing some solutions. And again, I have been wrong before, and moving forward without judgment has really helped me, because I'm like, oh, I want to make this perfect. I want to make all the right moves. Well, guess what? I can't. We can't. We need to move forward the best that we possibly can. So thank you.
Well, thank you for that. That was very insightful. And I think also to give this kind of courage to people to not feel perfect right away. I think it's also really important, especially in the era of social media, because, you know, as soon as you do something, then you're attacked right away. And you know, everyone tries to be perfect all the time. But yeah, I think that having this awareness that we're not perfect, that's going to help a lot of people, I think, to do the small gestures. There's a phrase that we don't need a bunch of people doing zero waste perfectly. We need millions of people doing it imperfectly.
There's the naked cosmetics, which are cosmetics without plastic packaging, and that brand they mentioned was Lush. I think that, so we need to allow, like, NGOs, biologists to help things in communities as well. So that gives them the option to, like, use technology like drones, or, you know, submarines, or sort of scientists on boats, and they can study this, which they've already been doing, but be able to work in those communities to help stop overfishing and stop the polluting into the waterways. But other than that, like, you know, supporting charities like Project Zero, they help reforest mangroves, Ocean Conservancy, Living Ocean Foundation, and the Blue Carbon Initiative are also really, I got a lot of information about carbon and how the coastlines store that carbon from them. And I found it really eye-opening, because the habitats are 13.8 to 15.2 million hectares, and only 2% of our oceans are made up of those. So I thought it was, like, really informative to think about how storm systems, and how if they get torn out, then all that carbon is released. So it's all of these unmeasurable variables at play, and plastic is just one of them. And I feel like in fashion, people are starting to wake up, but I feel like in order for things to change on a large scale, we have to get politicians that don't care out, and get, you know, community-based organizations to start cleaning coastlines, and to be more, if you are on a coastline, to be more proactive about cleaning up, or getting the government or some sort of funding so that you can do these sort of big cleanups. Because unless we get big machines to do, like, the, you know, over here in the States, it's just like, it's an all over problem. But anyway.
So we're a little bit running out of time. So one last question for everyone. So what would be your solution or one suggestion for our audience that everyone can contribute to something with a small action that they can do every day?
I think before I creating a No More Plastic, I tried to make a week without plastic. It was one of my challenge. I said, okay, I will try it. And I just saw that it's quickly really impossible, because even when you are going in the organic shop, everything is wrapped in plastic. So I just wanted to think that consumer have a huge power to ask their factory, their best fashion brand, etc., to make a change. Because right now there exists so many different alternatives that every people can use. It's more simple because so there are so many information about that. You can just Google it and you find so many different things. So right now, I think everyone needs to understand that as consumer, you have a huge power. A huge power when you use your cell phone and ask or just tag fashion or industry, even not just like, oh, it's bad, it's not good, etc., but just as consumer, how's someone who would like change, I just would like to ask my favorite brand to change that. And I think if we are a million to do that, we have the power to make change. I'm certainly sure about that. It's not the government. It's the power is in our hands. It's the reason why in normal plastic we are thinking that we are all the solution. When we post something on your social media, when you talk about around you about the situation, etc., we have a huge power.
Yeah, I just wanted to actually join your beautiful idea about how we can really affect the government movements with just connecting together and bringing the voice together. It should be maybe another challenge, let's say in Instagram, but maybe it sounds a little tricky, but then we all witnessed how one word, one phrase, one post on social media can spread the problem, can make this first impulse to do a bigger thing. So I absolutely agree, and I'm in for your, if you will do this challenge or whatever, I'm here for you. And I was thinking about to do the same in Ukraine, to do the photos in the shops and ask them directly through my social media channel how we can change this, because the amount of plastic in product shops is just crazy. It's too enormous. But from my side, what I see is when you help people around you who are not that aware, who are not having any bigger possibilities, sources to maybe sort plastic, to maybe do something. When you help them, not just showing that you do this, but when you help them to do this is what really helps. That's what I experienced from my life. That's when you come to a place, let's say it was in Jerusalem, when you come to the beach and you see that it's dirty and I started to clean it, then people were laughing at me first minutes, then were making jokes, but then they connected, they joined me in this. But then we didn't see any other bags, just the bags for the garbage. So it takes you time, energy to go to the shop, buy it, take it, help them to collect the garbage. What I'm saying is the commitments from yourself is important, but then sometimes we close our eyes for people around us who don't know how. They are not aware about problem, but then they don't even know how to solve it. So if you just help them out, it's a little step, but it really helps. That's what I just continue to do in my daily base life. That's not just showing, but helping again. I mean, besides all the biggest promotion that we do on social media, it's by the end of the day, it's your real life, it's your real steps, real movements, and what you do with people next to you in your country, in your city. And that's my point. Thank you.
Yes, I really believe what you both said, and it's about that, again, I've said it, radical awareness of everything that you are doing, everything that you're consuming every single day, and questioning it. What can I change? How can I reach out to the brand that I might be wearing and say, hey, how is your product made? How are you creating this? Do you have any aspirations to be sustainable? And since I think we're all kind of content creators here, we're creating in some way, work with that brand, support that brand, share the sustainability, because it is about we have to changing the way that we consume and the way we create. It's not just consuming, it's the way we're creating as well, and really educating yourself and DMing brands and asking, what initiatives do you have this year? Are you working with any sustainability or any organic fabrics? And really saying, hey, I want to partner with you on this. I want to spread your message. I want to share with followers or friends or other companies, what the new world of fashion can really look like. So that's what I have to say.
Okay, I have a few minutes. I just wanted to thank all of you, and I really appreciate your commitment, because it does take commitment and it does take responsibility. And I'm not perfect, and I want to see change, but that has to come in sort of the pressure, the social movement, and the collective, talking about it. It is about talking about it, but it's also about action. And I feel like if I were to, see the trash, outside of my apartment, I would maybe not pick it up immediately, but then I would start carrying around gloves with me that were, sharp resistant, so that, safe, and also, protecting me from any sort of bacteria. And also, it also comes down to our waste systems and where we're going to be able to change that and reform that in a way that it sorts it on a grand scale, because that's really the system we're talking about, is waste and how to manage it. And I feel like one of the initiatives that they need to add is waste management, how we're going to address that.
Fantastic. And yeah, I mean, I'm already very inspired by all this conversation, actually, and already kind of opening new paths in my brain as well, because, in this conversation, we've talked about a little bit the CEOs of the future, and, we're a small startup, but we are in charge of what we do, and no one tells us what to do, so we have to show the way. And because we work with a lot of brands and we help them to create more sustainable products, and we've always thought that, recycling plastics, for example, was not such a bad thing. But of course, that's something that, we've been looking a little bit more, thanks also to this conversation, researching a little bit more. And I would say that from our point of view, for sure, in the future, we will now look at also the example of the Burberry sunglasses that you expressed. For example, we are consulting a brand to create sunglasses using recycled materials. At the moment, we're thinking about plastics, but for sure now we will maybe also ask you some suggestions of other supply chain manufacturers that could supply alternatives for this. And that's something that as soon as we gather more information, maybe we can partner a bit more with No More Plastic and gather all these supply chain manufacturers, so we can actually actively propose them to our brands through the Circular Fashion Summit as well, because that's ultimately where we all want to be. We want to be in a safe and clean world. And if we can join forces and share more contacts and put them in a place where people can actually access them, I think on my personal commitments, that could be something that we would be very happy to do, and maybe dedicate a web page to this on our website and just list all these companies. That'd be something that we'd be very, very happy to do. So that's from my side. But
Yeah, actually, so also lablaco, we are providing also the impact kind of criteria for all the brands. So all the consumer basically can see each brand, so every product, how they were made and which impact they're doing to the planet. So I think gradually, also in terms of innovation, technology, we're kind of empowering all these good things that also more easier for consumer to be accessible to get all these good products in the future. So yeah, I think this is the way that we're going forward. So perfect. Thank you so much today.
Thank you everyone for the incredible knowledge and sharing.
Thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed this conversation and inspired.
Thank you so much, Rosalie, for inviting us. And I think it's a magic to connect and to actually, at the last points that you just announced, to connect the right people, the right sources and supply chains. This is the act. This is the action, actually. That's how we do the future. It's a pleasure to meet and talk with everyone. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much. Thank
you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye. Have a beautiful day. Thank you.
you.